that's another thing. I just tell people, don't do it. Baby steps, a little bit at a time. And at least you're getting to the end of the project instead of just looking at it, sitting over there going, I really need to do this, but it's not getting done.
You're listening to Entrepreneur Journeys, where I share insights and strategies based on owning and managing businesses while traveling and living on 3 continents. I also interview business owners about their journey, what they learned along the way, and how that can help you with your business growth. For more resources to accelerate your entrepreneur journey, head over to 𝐏𝐚𝐦 where I share resources, events, community, and more. I'm your host, Joe Matz. Let's get started. I have with us today Pam Weiser from Be the Wiser. Welcome to the show, Pam.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So great. So tell our listeners now, worldwide listeners, where do you hail from?
I am in northern Colorado in the city of love, Loveland.
Sounds like a lovely place.
There are hearts actually placed strategically all over the city. It's kind of cool.
They're using it and abusing it, aren't they?
Valentine's Day is a very big holiday here.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. And Pam and I met through the Grand Connection, which is a networking and collaboration group, right?
Yes.
And we finally figured out how to get together and record this podcast. So, Pam, you own your own business. Is it called Be the Wiser?
It is.
Okay. I love the play. That is awesome.
Yeah, my father told me many years ago, my last name's Weiser, spelled Weiser. And my father told me many years ago that I'm never going to win. People are either going to mispronounce my name or they're going to misspell it. And so rather than having it misspelled, which it's still done because people think it's spelled Wiser, I went with the pronunciation.
Yes, that's awesome. I always learned, I before E except after Y kind of thing.
And in Wiser.
I'll add that in.
Yes.
So we're here to talk about business and what we can do in this conversation to help folks maybe get on a different direction, change a direction, or at least add something, maybe a little more efficiency to their day-to-day, right?
That's right.
So were you always into time management, efficiency, and things like that?
So my background is actually in executive support for tech companies. And so I did that for many, many years. I supported C-suite executives. Time management is really important because I'm running their calendar for 10 hours a day and I'm telling them where they need to go and what meetings they need to attend and where they need to travel to. So yes, time management started way back when. It also way back. Whoa,
not so far back. Whoa, come on, can't be that far back.
I've always been in a customer service industry. So whether that was in the restaurant industry where I had to manage people, time management is really important, right? Like you always figure out, and this goes to simple, you don't want your appetizers to come after the main courses come. So time management has always just been a part of my career.
And so during your career, you worked at a restaurant and, oh my gosh, I know what that experience is like. Oh, and yes. then you were working with executives and all. Was there ever an indication that you would someday own your own business?
Never.
I
actually thought about it maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Well, probably a little bit before then. And because I want to retire outside of the US. And I thought, well, how can I do this if I'm strapped to a job that I have to go into a company every day? And so I thought, let me figure out how I can create my own business, work remotely from anywhere in the world. And that's kind of how it was born.
That sounds like a medium to long-term plan.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, great. Now, when you were a kid, you didn't sell painted rocks by the side of the road or deliver newspapers or anything like that?
No, I was actually I think my first job ever, the first paying job with a company was I bagged groceries. Also another customer service job.
Yes.
You know, typical 16-year-old who needs a job.
So how did this come about that you left? Would I be correct in saying you left corporate to start your own business? How did this come about?
During COVID, I was working a full-time job with a tech company here in Colorado. And I was an office manager at the time, and there's no office to manage, but I was also doing a multitude of other jobs with the company. And because my brain needed to be kept busy and I didn't want to sit in front of the TV for hours when we were locked down, I reached out to friends and family and asked if anybody needed any support. So administrative projects, things like that. And I actually had some takers, and I was able to take it as a side gig. So I was still working a full-time job, my 40 hours a week, and then doing this on the side. And, after COVID, I moved back to California very temporarily. I had a job that didn't work out, and I took my business full time. I said, why do I have to work for somebody else? I know how to do this, and I can. And I did.
That's awesome. There are two things I love about that story. The first is you took your knowledge, experience, and expertise, what I like to call your keys, Kees. You took that from corporate and incorporated that directly almost into your own business.
That's right.
The other thing I love about that is you started part-time, kind of like dipping your toe in the waters. Like, I have these skills. Does anyone need these skills?
That's right.
And you got some traction.
I did.
Low risk, low time investment. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I'm so glad that it worked out for you.
I'm still here.
So what were those first engagements like?
One of them was a nonprofit. So I was basically supporting a program director and helping her write grants. And she also needed really specific guidance on her time. Yeah. So her calendar was a mess. She didn't have time to do the things that she needed to do because she was in meetings all day. So that happens to be a theme with a lot of the people that I work with. They're so overwhelmed because they're pulled in so many different directions, and they can't get to the work that they need to do in order to make their business grow or make their job function work. And so they hired me to basically get her organized, or she hired me to get her organized. And then I worked for a photographer who I've known for many, many years, who also just needed help with her CRM and was so overwhelmed because she didn't have time to go and take photos of people, which was her business, because she was dealing with all the back end, the back end tasks, which take a lot of time. And when you don't have the experience, it's a lot of time and effort. It ends up not paying off. You don't get to spend the time with your customers and your clients, which is what ultimately moves your business forward. Yeah.
I mean, that time back end stuff, it can slip into your life like bed bugs. At first,
I hope not.
At first you don't notice them. It's a bug or two. It's in your mattress. You don't notice. And then they grow and they multiply and they take over your whole mattress, so you can't even sleep at night.
I don't want to know.
Well, fortunately, I don't have any experience with bug mites, but I do have, or bed bugs.
Or mites, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that explains my lack of experience there. I do have experience with feeling overwhelmed. And I have days, sometimes it seems like multiple days. When I get to Friday and I say, what did I do? What did I do all week? It's Friday, and I feel like having a beer. But first, what did I do this week? And sometimes it's very difficult to come up with more than a few hours of actual productive work.
That's right.
And I imagine a lot of people experience that.
Yes. Most of my clients come to me past the stage of overwhelm. So they're probably a little beyond when they should be reaching out for help.
Yes.
But when they do discover that I can take so much off of their plates, I hear this sigh of relief, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, because now, I mean, with working with time management, we're really talking about priorities
Yes.
and having systems to. Would I be correct if I said you need a system to take these distractions that are coming at you through email and social media and text and billboards and anything else that might be coming at you? Do we need a system to like put those over in a box so they don't bother us?
I mean, it could be as simple as turning off your phone or your TV, right? I mean, just those things cut out half of the notifications that you receive. You know, close your office door if there's noise coming from outside in the kitchen or your dog is doing something. You know, there's so many people working from home these days. Close the door. You know, if you can't turn off your phone and you have to leave the phone on, I just tell people don't check your social media, don't check your email, do the things that you need to do, time block, set a timer, and actually focus.
So there is actually on my phone, and I think it's on a lot of phones now, there's a do not disturb button.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's actually set on a timer. And I forget if I did that myself or it was set up. It was 2 hours. And it still is 2 hours. So I hit do not disturb. I got 2 hours. No phone beeping at me.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, I wish it was that easy. I help people with their time, but when it comes to time management, I'm horrible about mine and I have to live off of my calendar.
Yes, living off the calendar because the calendar
Yeah.
tells me what I need to do. The calendar is like my secretary at some level.
Right.
But I did find out something interesting, Pam, recently with social media. And I work with virtual desktops. So if you have a Windows computer, you can move a desktop. It kind of like slides over. It's like on a desk. It would be like taking a file and putting it over on top of another file. So you can work on that one. When you're done, you close it up and then you put another file on top of it and work on that. So that's a virtual desktop.
Okay.
I had social media on one desktop and it's a switch on the computer. I go from one to the other. And I thought, I'm an adult. I've been working a long time. I'll just leave my social media accounts open on that virtual desktop and I just won't look at it.
Good luck with that.
I recently found out I can't do that.
That's right. Most people can't. It's shiny things and wanting to know what's going on in the world. And,
I know. So
Yeah.
I would do something productive or be halfway done sometimes, which is even worse. And then I'd flip over to that desktop and I'd look at my social media. And I'm like, but I can discipline myself. I've done other hard things. I found if I just closed them, that simple act of just closing Facebook, closing LinkedIn, closing my email so I could focus was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm almost embarrassed that I actually needed to close it. It couldn't be kind of in front of me and me not look at it.
Like a carrot.
I know. And I do suffer from shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people do. Me included, myself included.
Yeah. So what is the cure for shiny objects syndrome? Would you like to get in front of more of your ideal clients and at the same time build your brand and create evergreen content? Well, you can do that with podcast guesting. This very moment, you're listening to a podcast that may have been published today or 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago. In a very real sense, you're engaging with the speakers, hopefully enjoying yourself and learning something new at the same time. And you're getting to know the guest and how they help their clients, their customers, and the problems that they solve. You may even be their ideal client and want to learn more about them and download one of their free resources you can find in the show notes, or maybe even become a client of theirs. See, when you're a guest on a podcast, you will enjoy that same kind of engagement. It is perhaps the easiest, most cost-effective way to get in front of new audiences. Learn how you can be a guest on the right podcast and engage with your ideal clients with the free resources available at gapologist.com.
Oh, well, I can't help a lot of people with that. It has to come from inside.
Okay.
But when it comes to time management, it's about, again, it goes back to the calendar. I time block. So I have blocks of time, chunks of time set aside for me to work on my business, for me to work with my clients, for me to go on a walk, for me to, do my exercise, if it's not walking that day, for me to make a service appointment for my car, everything goes onto my calendar. So, and I have to set alarms to go with those appointments so that it reminds me that there's something else coming up and I need to check the calendar. So it's kind of my Bible. Yes, I get distracted. I have a new cat. She takes some time. I have to, be able to play during the day and step away. But also that also helps with, if you step away and you take a break and you go on a walk, or you're not constantly focusing and thinking about the stress and the things that you have to complete, you come back with a fresh set of eyes and you can actually get your work done much faster.
Yes.
And much more efficiently.
Yeah. I mean, one of the breaks that I love during the day is walking the dogs with my wife. And we're able to unpack what has happened in the last 3 or 4 hours while we're on our desk. She works in one room, I work in the other room. We're at home with the dogs. And walking is just a great way to break away. And we can talk about, we talk about anything. And oftentimes it's like, this is going on, or I talked with this person and I'm thinking of this, and we just throw ideas back and forth.
Well, there you go. And you probably could incorporate some of those into your business.
Yes, I do. In fact, I carry a digital recorder with me.
Oh, nice.
So I can capture any ideas that are worth capturing.
That's me, and putting it into a draft, somewhere on my phone when I think about things. I'm out walking, the brain's still turning, but it's actually nice to be able to look at the lake and let the come through, so I can go back and focus on those things.
Right. And that's important. Now, I've heard of a technique called the Pomodoro. Is it the Pomodoro technique or the Pomodoro system? Do you know that?
I don't.
It's a particular time system, but I was going to say it doesn't work for me. A lot of people.
Go ahead.
I mean, it may work, and I'm sure it works for a lot of people, but it's about working for 25 minutes and then taking 5 minutes off, and then working another 25 minutes and taking 5 minutes off. I prefer to go for like an hour or 2 hours.
Right. And I'm a believer in eating the frog. So doing the hardest, biggest task first, and then everything else comes easier, right? If you manage the biggest task, get the biggest task done, the rest of the day is kind of a breeze.
Yeah. So is that from the book, Eat That Frog?
Yes, I have that. That is a book that I do have. Yeah. Do them at the beginning of the day when you're fresh, when you've just woken up, when your mind is clear, when you don't have all of the stress and overwhelm from the day. You do it first thing in the morning and you get it done. And then the rest of the day is cake.
What I learned about that book is, those big, hairy projects, get those out of the way. The ones that you don't want to do, that you're used to procrastinating. And the reason it says, eat that frog is because if you eat a frog the first thing in the morning, probably nothing worse than that is going to happen to you the rest of the day.
That's right. Yeah. Another tip would be to break down large tasks into smaller tasks and manage them in a more manageable way. So that's another thing. I just tell people, don't do it. Baby steps, a little bit at a time. And at least you're getting to the end of the project instead of just looking at it, sitting over there going, I really need to do this, but it's not getting done.
Sometimes it's making progress, making a little bit of progress, and you could feel like you're actually making progress. So if you have one big task, it might be difficult to get to that first milestone. But if you break it down, and I used to do lists, I still do to-do lists. And I would leave the first thing off the list. So I would start with number 2.
Interesting.
And when I was ready to go, I would add number 1, which oftentimes was a drink of espresso.
Very nice.
Now it's on the list. So I say, okay, I'm done with the distractions. I'm ready to get to what I need to do. Oh, first thing's an espresso. That's not bad. I can start that. And I check it off. And it actually felt good. I mean, I'm playing with my brain, but it felt good to check something off the list. And the espresso is very nice also.
Yes, I am a list maker as well. I have lists all over the place. I have notebooks in front of me. I have Post-its. I have notes. Crossing things off of the list is very satisfying.
I think there's a release of endorphins when you do that. I think there's
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's actually a physical reaction in your brain when you check something off your list.
I think it's it's accomplishment, right? It just feels good. It boosts your ego. It boosts your energy. If you're ready to get on with the next task, you're feeling like, yeah, I got it done. So yeah, quite possibly.
I think there's something about business owners in their DNA that they want to move things forward. And I think that contributes to that good feeling of checking something off the list. You're moving forward.
That's right.
You're getting to the next step. As I always ask my wife, I say, what can you do? She works in teams, right? What can you do to move this to the next step? That's all you have to do. Move it to the next step. And oftentimes it's her doing a little bit of work and then moving it along to someone who is better qualified or maybe is in a position to work on that next step. So she moves it to the next step and then she passes it on and she can work on the next project, the next thing.
That's right. Delegation is huge.
Yes. So that's a good subject to touch on. Delegation.
That's right.
I know a lot of people are timid about delegating because I remember a phrase from my youth, if you want something done right, do it yourself. It is the killer of delegation.
Yes, and that is actually really bad for business owners.
So I had a guy come to me in the restaurant. I used to manage a restaurant. And I had an idea of what we needed to do on a particular project in the restaurant. And I said, I'd like you to work on this project. Here's what we need to do. At slow time, come into the office and talk with me. And he came in with an idea. And my assistant was with me there. And he came in with an idea. And it wasn't exactly what I wanted to be done, but it got the objective done. And I said, that's great. That is awesome. I love the idea. That's fantastic. What's the first step and when can you start on it? Well, after he left the office, the assistant said to me, Joe, that's not what you were thinking. That's not kind of what we talked about. And I said, look, it's 90% of what we talked about. And I would rather have him committed 100% to getting 90% done than insert my own ideas, my own way, and then he might be committed only 50% to getting that done. Much better he took his own idea and his own initiative. And I learned that in a book somewhere.
Yeah, when you delegate and somebody has when you don't delegate, you have blinders on and you can only see what's in front of you generally, right? But when you delegate, you're hiring an expert or you're passing this along to somebody who may be passionate about the work that you're doing, who can take it off your plate, who may do it better and more effectively than you and probably more efficiently. And they might have a different insight or perspective that you may not have seen because your blinders were on. So not only does that help with your getting it off of your plate, but you might have a more robust way of doing, they might have a more robust way of doing something that might improve the quality of the project or the quality of the work.
Right. And you have to be open to the fact that you don't have all the good ideas.
Right.
Other people have different perspectives. They bring different experiences there, and that can contribute to whatever you have going on. It's one of the reasons I love masterminds and brainstorming sessions. Done right, they are incredibly powerful. So how can someone begin to delegate?
it goes back, generally goes back to them being overwhelmed to the point of, I can't do this anymore. I'm working 70 hours a week. I don't have time to go to my kids' activities. And it's past the point of already needing to delegate. So what I tell people is, I get in, they have ideas of what they want to do. Most of the time, it's not everything that I can take off of their plate. So it's me getting in, taking some things off of their plate that they have already felt needed to go. And I can get in and assess and say, well, I probably could take all of these things off of your plate as well. And that takes time. It takes trust. It takes baby steps. Everything that I do for people is baby steps. I mean, nobody's going to give me the keys to the castle, right? So they give me one key to the bedroom, and then or
Sure.
the kitchen or whatever. And then as they see the quality of work that and their expectations are raised, then they give me more work.
Right.
I've had clients who have just given me everything and said, here, do this. But most of the time, there's so much control when business owners have done things for themselves for so long that it's hard to relinquish that control.
Sure.
And just giving that up and trusting that you're hiring an expert to come in and help you is half the battle.
Yes, realizing that you need help. And what it sounds like is people wait until they should have asked, weeks or months beforehand, but they get to a point where I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah. There's stress. They're not sleeping.
Yeah.
It's affecting their well-being.
So I would imagine it would be better to delegate before you get to that point.
Yes.
But that's
right.
tough. That's tough to do. I mean, it's tough to wrap your brain around it unless you've had some coaching or you are orientated towards that kind of mindset.
I mean, even I am in the process of getting an assistant to help me delegate so that I can focus on the larger tasks. I mean, that's the whole point. Business owners and business leaders need to be focusing on goals and strategies and getting back in front of their clients and customers. But when they're doing all of the administrative and projects and everything behind the scenes, they don't have time to do that.
Right. Yeah, they've got to give away. I mean, delegate what you can delegate. And one thing you can't delegate is relationships.
That's right.
And that's almost impossible. I've seen people try and do it. Kind of turns me off when I see that happening. They should delegate the back office stuff. They should delegate what is not customer facing until their business is large enough that there are just too many customers to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I like the dip the toe in the water philosophy because people need to have trust, especially if they're not used to delegating and they're not one of your close friends, so they don't know you. So just a little bit. And it's really great that you're open to that. I know some folks who consider themselves virtual assistants or things. They want to take the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not a virtual assistant, but I definitely, with all of my experience, I know where to start. I mean, when you're working with executives in corporations who are just, they're being held to somebody else's standards as well. There's a level, right? Like they have people above them. And so I know how to kind of maneuver to pull things out. Let me do this. Let's just see how this goes. And then, once I can get them on the same page as me, more things just add to the pile.
Right. Perfect. So would you say some of the first things you take off their plate are the low-hanging fruit?
Yeah, easiest for sure. Definitely things that I can do quickly. I have clients that have me do a variety of things. I've done, research. I do a lot of CRM migrations and implementation, which is not exactly low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I do larger things as well. I've helped companies with recruiting. I've helped, leadership teams with their, meetings, agendas, event planning, things like that. That's not necessarily low-hanging fruit, but with entrepreneurs, they tend to have things that their lists are so long that I just basically try to tackle whatever I can.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Super. Pam, this has been a great conversation. I thank you
Ooh.
so much for joining me and sharing with our audience.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, if I were to ask you what I'm just about to ask you is, what words of wisdom can you leave our audience with today?
Um, I productivity is about working smarter, not harder. And when you use your time and energy efficiently and producing more in a shorter amount of time, you're adding to your success and profits. And you do that by establishing self-care and good work-life balance and good time management skills, and that lowers your stress. And so I feel like all of this it's all encompassing,
Yes.
mostly time management.
Right. And there's a lot of subtleties in time management. So if someone wants to know more about time management and wants to know more about you, Pam, and how you help and what you do for folks, what can they do?
They can reach out to me via email. It's Pam at @BeTheWiser, BeTheWiser.net. Or I'm on LinkedIn, Pam Weiser, WEISER. And my website is bethewiser.net, BeTheWiser.net.
Okay, and we'll have all those links in the show notes. So if you're listening on a podcast or you're watching on YouTube, you can look in the show notes and everything will be there. Pam, thank you so much for sharing with my audience today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye now.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Journeys. Remember to subscribe so you catch all the episodes and check out the show notes for any free giveaways or gifts that were mentioned during this show. Entrepreneur Journeys is brought to you by 𝐏𝐚𝐦, providing the insights, tools, and transformative structures to help you reach your business summit. I'm your show host, Joe Matz, and until next time, I hope your journey is filled with breathtaking views and successful outcomes.